Hello and welcome to another edition of Bible Time. It's such a great treat to be able to meet like this on a regular basis and just go through the Bible together. There's so much for us to learn, especially as we go through the Old Testament. A lot of places we might not be so familiar with, some things that happen that have great significance to us that we might not be as aware of. And so I'm really thankful that we have this time. I'm thankful that you're joining in. And you might tell other people and encourage them to join in with us as we go through the Bible together. And today we're continuing in the book of Samuel. We're in 1 Samuel chapters 20 through 22 for our time in God's Word today. And again, it's focusing on David, who has been anointed as the king, but it's going to be a while before he actually rules as the king. And we're seeing some reasons why. One reason is because the existing king, Saul, is envious and fearful of David and wants to kill him. We saw that yesterday, that he's out to kill David. He's envious because the people have this song where Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. Well, Saul doesn't like not having the top billing, so he's out to actually kill David. That's what happens when you have hatred and anger, and you're in a position of a king to do things like that. And so we see that happening now. Jonathan, the son of Saul, is an ally of David's, and he doesn't believe, at least initially, that his dad would actually ever kill David. But in chapter 20, we read a long account there of how Jonathan actually confirms that his father's intent is to have David killed. And there again, you see the devotion and the loyalty between Jonathan and David, the friendship, the fellowship that they have, because they are so like-minded, so like-hearted, and so different than Saul. But there it is confirmed, and now David is officially going to be a fugitive on the run from King Saul, and that time of him on the run from Saul, it's going to last up to 10 years for him before he becomes the king himself. So there's a lot that goes on here. And you'll see that in chapter 21, he starts on the run and he goes to where the priests are. And actually, he lies to the priest. He lies about why he's there, because the priest was a little suspicious. David kind of coming on his own. Well, he does official business for the king. Why is he all alone? And then he also lies about why he doesn't have a sword, and he's given actually Goliath's sword, and so he lies to the priests, and you see that later in our reading today that leads to the slaughter of the priests. And David, when he finds out about that at the end of chapter 22, he takes responsibility for it. But there's a lot going on there. Actually, the slaughter of the priests fulfills the curse that was pronounced on Eli way back in 1 Samuel chapter 2. You might remember that. And so it fulfills that curse. But at the end of chapter 2, like I said, David's going to take responsibility for what happened there, and he's going to write a psalm, Psalm 52, to talk about that as well. And so he's on the run, and he goes actually into Philistine territory, thinking, well, Saul's not going to chase me here. And so he goes in there. But the people in Gath there, they apparently listen to the Israel radio stations, and they know that one of the top 10 songs is Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. And they're saying, hey, this is the David that song is talking about. And when David realizes that, David acts insane. And one of the great lines in all the Bible is the king. They're saying in chapter 21, verse 15, the king of Gath says, he's insane. He's acting like a madman. And the king says, do I lack madmen that you have brought this fellow to behave as a madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? I mean, the people are trying to say, no, this David, he's a warrior. He's an Israelite. We need to be afraid of him, and he's acting insane. And the king says, do I lack madmen? What's he saying to the guys that work for him? But anyways, The Lord protects David through that, and David writes 2 Psalms, Psalm 34 and Psalm 56, regarding that incident about the Lord's deliverance from the king of Gath, one of the Philistines. And so now he's off, and people are joining in with him. He goes to a cave, and his family comes to him, and a bunch of people come to him, and he takes care of these people. He goes to Moab and makes arrangements for his mom and dad. Now, Moab is an enemy of Saul, so they're going to be in line with David there. But also there's a family connection with Moab, because you might remember we read the book of Ruth. Ruth, where was she from? She was from Moab. And how is she connected to David? She's his great-grandmother. So David's got family in Moab. And so he makes arrangements for his mom and dad that they're going to be protected, they're going to be kept safe, because it's not just David that's in danger, it's anybody associated with him is in danger. So he takes care of them. And then these people who start, and then he takes the people who have associated with him, he takes them, it says in verse 4, up to the stronghold. He goes to the stronghold. That the Hebrew word for stronghold is Metsuda. It sounds a lot like Masada, and that's most likely where it went. Masada is a mountaintop fortress type area that is near the Dead Sea. And if you go to Israel today, one of the things you might do is go to Masada, because Herod actually built a fortress up there for himself. But it was a safe place up on top of this. It's like 1,200 feet high. The only way up there is this snake-like path on the one side of it. So it's an easy place to be and to be safe and protect yourself from anybody who's coming after you. So that's where they were for a while. But I want to zero in our time here just on the people who came and joined in with him. We're told in chapter 22, verse 2, that these people that are coming around David, who become his army, are the distressed, the in debt, and the discontented. The bitter of heart. So he's got the distressed, the ones in debt, and the ones who are discontented. And these are the people that aren't doing well under Saul's leadership, so they start rallying around David. These guys become his army. These guys become his mighty men. Some of these guys are his mighty men that we're going to be reading about later. David's mighty men. And their transformation from what they were when they showed up to what they became is a credit to David's leadership. And that's a real encouragement for us in the church, because under godly leadership, the Lord can transform kind of marginalized people in the world to become mighty men and women of God. So that's great encouragement to you and me. We may not be much in the eyes of the world. We might not be considered great or noteworthy in the eyes of the world, but under godly leadership, the Lord can use us, and we can become mighty men and women for him. And so let's trust him for that. Let's follow that leadership. Let's become those people who God can greatly use in whatever way he would want to. So great lessons to learn, a lot going on in these chapters. I hope you read them carefully, thoughtfully, and benefit from them. Ask the Lord to teach you and to apply it to your own heart. And we'll see you tomorrow for more Bible Time.